In this video, you'll hear a health department interviewer conducting an interview with Dale Crane, a resident in your county who has been diagnosed with a salmonella infection. This video models how to navigate a situation where an interviewee is angry about their illness and would like to take legal action. Hello, may I speak with Dale Crane?
Yeah, this is Dale.
Hi, Dale. My name is Sarah. I'm an epidemiologist calling from the Broome County Health Department. I'm hoping to talk to you about a recent illness and laboratory test you had taken sometime last week. Does that sound right?
Oh, good. Maybe you can finally do something about this awful situation. I can't believe what the catering company did. They got a bunch of us sick at my son's wedding. It has been an absolute nightmare.
I'm so sorry to hear that. It sounds like an incredibly frustrating time for you. Let me explain why I'm calling here. So, I'm from the health department, and my role is to gather some information about your illness and any potential exposures you might have had. We actually follow up with all who had the same type of infection you do and ask these questions to everyone. So, ultimately, the goal is to use that information to identify any common sources of illness and prevent others from becoming sick. So if it's okay with you, I'd like to go through our standard interview form. It might take about 20 minutes or so, but any responses you would provide would be kept confidential. Does that sound okay?
Well, I don't know about all that. I'm certain I know what made me sick and can tell you all about it. I even saw on television that you can sue for this type of thing. Do you know if that's true? Does the health department do things like that?
If an interviewee asks for legal advice during an interview, let them know you are unable to provide this type of advice and redirect them to the interview questions. Well, first, I'll let you know that I unfortunately cannot provide any legal advice on this call. My role at the health department is to talk you through some of the details regarding your illness and your exposure history and see if I can get to the bottom of what caused you to feel sick. So, if it's okay, why don't we start at the beginning so I can get the full picture here? Would you mind telling me what day it was that you started to feel sick?
Now, why is it that no one can do anything about this catering company? Clearly, something is not right with them. Didn't you say that you wanted to keep people from getting sick? Doesn't seem like you're doing too good of a job with that.
If an interviewee expresses anger or frustration, acknowledge these feelings, remain calm, and redirect to interview questions. I understand that you're feeling frustrated about becoming sick and that you have some concerns about this catering company, but I do want to let you know that I can't take any action regarding the situation until I have some information about what happened. Would it be okay with you if we started with some questions about your illness?
I guess. Go ahead.
Thanks for sharing that information. Up next, I have some questions about potential exposures you might have had before becoming sick.
Well, I can tell you right now that it was the chicken we served at the rehearsal dinner on Friday.
If an interviewee believes they know the source of their illness, probe for additional information to determine how likely it is that they might be correct. Okay, I see. Could you tell me a little bit more about that? What makes you think it was that chicken dinner?
I couldn't even finish the whole thing. There was a piece of lettuce on it that looked at least a week old, and the chicken just didn't taste right. I even told my partner when we were eating that something was not right with it. We tried to talk to the caterer about it, but they would not listen.
Okay, that's helpful. You mentioned feeling ill fairly soon after dining at the restaurant, if I'm remembering correctly. How many hours after eating would you say you started to feel sick?
I think we got our food around 5 p.m., but I mean, wow, it wasn't more than 2 hours afterwards I started to feel a little sick.
If an interviewee's hypothesis about the source of their illness is likely not correct, provide education regarding the pathogen's transmission. Avoid making any sure claims about the source of an illness and redirect back to the interview questions. Got it. This doesn't completely rule out the dinner at the catering company served, but one of the things that we do know about salmonella infections is that symptoms typically don't start until at least 12 hours after someone has been exposed. So, since you only began feeling sick after about a few hours after you ate, it could be that something else might have caused you to become sick as well.
Are you sure it couldn't have been the chicken? My partner said she thought the chicken tasted funny too. Plus, the catering company seemed unorganized, and I wouldn't doubt if they messed up something with the temperatures.
So it is possible that you are correct, and I'll go ahead and ask you some more questions about that night's dinner and the catering company you mentioned so that we can make sure to take any of the steps that we need to prevent others from becoming ill. However, I would like to go through the rest of these questions with you just to make sure that we have information about exposures you might have had during the whole week before you became sick. Does that sound okay?
Sure, go ahead. Are you going to let me know if it does end up being something with the catering company, though? I'd like to know so that I can follow up with legal action if it was really their fault.
As needed, refer interviewees to appropriate local agencies or teams for any further follow-up regarding concerns about specific facilities. Well, based on what I know now, I can't exactly say what follow-up will take place with the catering company. However, if we were to suspect any issues with their practices at the catering company, the local health department's environmental assessment team would follow up directly with them. So they would be a good contact for you if you have any additional questions or concerns about the catering company. Does that sound okay? If an interviewee asks for legal advice during an interview, let them know you are unable to provide this type of advice and redirect them to the interview questions. If an interviewee expresses anger or frustration, acknowledge these feelings, remain calm, and redirect to interview questions. If an interviewee believes they know the source of their illness, probe for additional information to determine how likely it is that they might be correct. If an interviewee's hypothesis about the source of their illness is likely not correct, provide education regarding the pathogen's transmission. Avoid making any sure claims about the source of an illness and redirect back to the interview questions. As needed, refer interviewees to appropriate local agencies or teams for any further follow-up regarding concerns about specific facilities.